Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the United States Transhumanist Party Virtual Enlightenment Salon of October 31st, 2021. It is Halloween, but we are not going to scare you today. We are going to have a fascinating and enlightening discussion about longevity coaching and the cultivation of genius. We are joined by our illustrious panel of U.S. Transhumanist Party officers. My name is Gennady Stolyarov II, and I'm the chairman of the U.S. Transhumanist Party. With us, we have our director of applied innovation, David Shoemaker, our director of visual art, Art Ramon Garcia, our director of longevity outreach, Ben Ballweg, our legislative director, Jason Geringer, and our director of publication, Zach Richardson. Now, our special guest for today is an individual whom I would characterize as one of the leading educators in the world in the cultivation of genius, as well as preparing people to lead radically extended lifespans, which will hopefully become technologically and medically possible within our lifetime. So Otto Siegel is our guest, and he is the author of this book right here, Yes, You Are a Genius. And one of the main theses of this book is that every one of us has genius potential within us, and Otto helps people unlock that potential. So for those of us who are inclined toward intellectual deliberation and achievement, this is a great line of thinking to pursue. So welcome, Otto. We are quite pleased to have you with us, and please tell us about longevity coaching and tell us about how we can discover our inner genius. So let's see, we are waiting for Otto to unmute himself.
Gotta unmute.
And in the meantime, we welcome our audience as well. So good evening to all. We have several of our loyal viewers. Daniel Twet says, drive back the forces of death and zombiehood. We shall do our best. And John H. says, happy Halloween to one and all, and likewise, happy Halloween to you, John, and welcome. And Christine Lemstra, welcome as well. So Otto, you are unmuted now, and you may begin.
Yeah, sorry, I had some issues with my internet being a little bit shaky. Thank you so much for your warm introduction. I'm delighted to be your guest speaker today on this call, and look forward to having as much interaction as possible and to learn more about your mission, your values, and what you do. And let me start off with one statement very clear. I'm so thankful for everybody on this call, also for future listeners to the recording. All of you are outliers. All of you are members of the most important minority in the United States and internationally. People who see more than the current existence of human life. And that makes me connected with you immediately, this common ground we all have. And I want to contribute my piece. That took me a little bit to figure out, but let me give you 5 minutes of introduction, what them all is about. I got in touch with physical immortality back in 1990 in Germany, and during a seminar on physical immortality. And I met Brene and Jim, the founders of People Unlimited, in Munich, and two things stuck with me immediately. First of all, there must be more than this, meaning this life. Second, Brene said very clearly, let's make this longevity very simple. In 1900, life expectancy in America was 47. Now we hover about, let's say 76, 78, fluctuating a little bit. Japan is ahead of us with 81. Why do we stop now? That question burned into my soul. There's no reason why. So 1996, I moved from Munich to Scottsdale, Arizona, to be one of the 17 founding members of People Unlimited. And I never looked back. This is the life that we share, to expand, to challenge the existing paradigms, and to look a little bit around the corner. And making that not just a vision or dream, these dreams are as old as mankind, make it a reality. So it took me a while to find out, okay, what is my professional contribution to that? In 2003, I started Genius Coaching based on Einstein's famous quote, "There is a true genius in everyone." But the complete quote continues because he says, if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will always believe it is stupid. That convinced me. Where is this genius? Where is it in me? Where is it in other people? I sent myself on a quest. I want to figure that out. I knew it was beyond belief systems, beyond any assumptions, any philosophies we have, as something else. What is it? My own mantra kept coming up again. There must be more than this. And I feel it today as strongly. This is wonderful what we have, and there must be more than this. That helps me to focus on the future instead of the past. That in itself is a profound paradigm shift. That sounds very small. It is fundamental. Where do we get our cues from, our clues? Is it from past experience? I don't think so. Is it from future expectations? Much more fun. One thing I also learned in my own genius coaching, it has to be joyful. Otherwise, who wants to live longer if it's not fun? Willpower is not strong enough to get us where we need to go. So there must be more than this. Finally, in 1916, we had the first RAD conference. Many of you know what RAD Festival is, and you probably participated. That's when it dawned on me, wait a minute, genius does not stop with age. Okay, people who figure out there must be more than life, there must be longevity, are geniuses. They have this burning desire in themselves to break through the paradigm, to find something that is that bigger. It's not just a wishful thinking, it's a burning desire in their core, in their guts, that stimulates the intellect, stimulates the heart, and makes this search real. It's something substantial we go for. And one thing we figured out early on, it is about connection. Connecting with people who feel the same. That's where the power is. Because since the Roman Empire, the paradigm was always divide and conquer. That's the opposite. We are very clear what not to do. So much for the past. We learn from history only that much. What do we learn from the future? It comes down to a whole new value of human existence. So the first RAD Fest, I participated as a vendor and exhibitor with radical life extension coaching. And I got clients out of it. People are hungry. They refuse to retire. They want to be more productive in their 70s like they were in their 40s. And these are people I'm looking for. And these are people that have skin in the game. So let's look at a few slides, if you would mind. So radical longevity coaching, what is it? So longevity coaching is personal. Longevity is personal. Aging is personal as well. But
just a moment, Otto. I think we have yet to see the slides, but you should be able to share your screen.
Oh, yes, I need to share my screen. Sorry about that.
Yes.
How did I do this? Share screen. Yes, of course. Stop one. Hold on, I have a technical challenge here, which will be gone.
Hey, I see stuff.
Now you're seeing.
Yeah. Yes, we are seeing your PowerPoint interface, and yes.
Now you see the slides.
We see the first slide with a preview of the next slide. I think you can switch to the screen where you just have the current slide.
Recording in progress.
Okay, I got that. What's going on here? That okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's start with my life partner, Susanna's mom. 91 years young, she broke her femur for the second time. And she had an iron will to live. She had no question, I will get out of this hospital and keep living. In the meantime, she's 94, and we'll visit her next month. So the will to live, the desire to be alive is very, very strong. That's what we need, the strong will to live. Not when we're challenged by a sickness or by injury, when we are in our daily lives. How strong is my will to live? That makes people serious candidates for longevity coaching, because coaching is the impact from the outside to add to that picture. And that is, we do our best to add value to each person's personal life in terms of longevity. So the current landscape of aging and wellness is very interesting because unfortunately, longevity is still so much associated with fighting disease instead of strongly linked to wellness and health. But the good news is we have a rapidly growing body of medical research in US, UK, Europe, and Russia. And more, as we move forward, we get access to these resources, which means the desire for longevity is global, international. Every nation that doesn't fight with the basics like survival has this hidden desire. There are people everywhere, millions of them. What you do with the Transhumanist Party is tapping into these people globally. And I totally applaud you for that because we're on the same page. It does not always address the person as a whole, the body, mind, and spirit. Sometimes efforts try to make the spirit immortal or longevity, but not so much the body. It is tied to illness and illness prevention, and like I said, not so much to wellness. This is about the change, which means all of us, we have a huge education job to do. So, what are your concerns about aging? If you're bold enough, jump into the chat function and put it in. Losing my cognitive function, losing mobility. Just think about 30 years ahead from now. Needing the support to live in my own home. Unable to reach all my goals, my bucket list. Developing degenerative diseases. Not having financial stability. Losing friends and loved ones. These are just the most frequent ones I've been hearing now since the last 4 years. Feel free to add yours to the list, because one thing we need to do to study our enemy, to look it square in the eyes. Here, this is what shows up for me. That makes it a real coachability when we face these kind of questions. And my job is as a longevity coach to find out what can we come up with an answer together. I don't have answers for that. I'm in the same boat. But together, we need a boatload full of people to figure that out. And I'm excited to find that out and find more and more people. So we think we're alone? No, we are not. Nola Ox, 95, a Kansas woman, bachelor's degree when she was 95, and a master's degree at the age of 98. Does that tell you something? This is desirable. This is where we're heading. PhDs after 100 years. How about that? Because we're mentally totally sharp and capable to do that. Harriet Thompson completed San Diego Marathon. She started running marathons at age 76. How about that? Whenever it tastes like impossible, that's when longevity enthusiasts perk up. And the list goes on. At 80, Yukiro Miura, here's on the little picture on the left-hand corner, climbed Mount Everest for the 3rd time. At 90, Gloria Tramontan Struck still rides her Harley and is planning a cross-country trip at age 100 for her 100th birthday. Is that inspiring or what? 103, Ruth Colvin, founder of Literacy Volunteers of America, just wrote her autobiography, still lectures and plays golf. And at age 90, Mr. Captain Kirk went through the universe for 11 minutes in space. So do you see? We have some shining stars going on here. They walk the talk. And there's so many more. How do we prepare for that? All of you are activists already. This is me and my partner Susanna during one of the first art festivals, because for me is to push these limits in the inner game. And that is my coaching all about. The inner game, what defines you inside your skin, that expresses itself in the outer game. And then the question is, how do we do this together? And we're all hundreds of people in the meantime, thousands of people on the same quest to find out from their point of view individually, what is my contribution? My contribution is the coaching piece, absolutely. I already have a coaching program going on and a certification program for longevity coaches. So last year, the first group of longevity coaches graduated from that. They all have been health and wellness coaches already, and now they expand into longevity. They see the value immediately based on a strong health. Because if you're not healthy, who wants to do that? So I told you my story already. That's me hiking the Grand Canyon last year. We do everything every year around December because it's so much more fun in snow. You have cleats and everything is more adventure, not crowded at all. It's individual experience and we just love it. So we, my life partner, me. So is it a coach to expand into this professionally? Growing bolder, not older is a slogan that sticks with a lot of people. How ready are we to grow bolder in our actions and to do individually more as we thought we could? That's constant expansion. So longevity coaching is very simple to build your future brighter than your past. That means a big part of my longevity coaching is to help people walk free of sentimentality and really look forward. The future is this and this and this. That's where I want to go. I want to be drawn to the future instead of managing my own past. It's just not enough time for that. So the blue zones, all of you are familiar with that, of course. What do we learn from them? It's wonderful. They move naturally. They have the right outlook on life. What we learn from them, know your purpose individually. Our purposes are not identical, but they align for sure. Everybody's individual contribution is extremely important. Eat wisely, the 80% rule. Yes, 80% fruit, vegetables, 20% other stuff, and quality over quantity. That is very, very important to give our bodies the best ingredients we can to make sure we nourish ourselves as much as we can. There's no right and wrong in eating. I hold myself back from going deeper into that because that's a big part when it comes to longevity. And then the belonging part, family, friends, the right tribe, the Transhumanist Party, other associations if you're comfortable with, that is important to have a mental, physical, and emotional home. Absolutely a foundation for this pyramid. So here we go. Inflammaging is a term that we coined, okay? And it shows up in many, many publications and many online programs and interviews. The quality of life is first. If you bring up the quality of your life on a constant basis, you work on your longevity. That's the bigger picture right there. Spending time in nature, the nourishing trio of deep sleep, hydration, breathing. And the point is behind these daily strategies add up. And the more we pay attention, the more we build our longevity on a very specific day-to-day level. So high quality food, like-minded, energizing community, and a joyful heart as source of life energy. The quantity of years will follow. Sometimes we get sidetracked, focusing on the number of years first and neglect what's going on right now. A gift I found out that comes with longevity is heightened sensitivity. Our senses sharpen up because over time we feel, man, wait a minute, I am precious. I'm irreplaceable. My fingerprint cannot go away. My contribution to the Transhumanist Party, to any other organization, to everybody who is in the longevity community is absolutely valuable. Nobody has my life experience to share. I have. So big part of coaching is to raise that awareness in the inner game that you are indispensable. It's individual contribution in an associated form, of course. So this is also a longer discussion, and please feel free to put in all your questions you have along those lines, because there's a lot we have to explore and to discuss. So always be stretching yourself, body, mind, and spirit. And that is mentally, yes, learn, be curious. I learned the new ways to introduce myself when I meet somebody new. I'm curious to meet you. Not it's my pleasure to meet you. No, I'm curious to meet you. And the same thing is going on today in this call. I really want to interact with you afterwards because I'm curious to what's going on with you in terms of longevity. Every contribution enriches me and you at the same time. And I love physical challenges. That's one. For me, the biggest physical challenge, I used to be an athlete. I qualified to Olympic Games in Mexico City way back when. But I was at the downpour of an athlete, constant micro injuries. So when I tried to work out the same way, guess what? I failed miserably. Flexibility. And that is very different from just create muscle. That goes a long way. So getting out of the comfort zone helps a lot. Not pushing myself out the comfort zone, but stretching a little bit further. Okay, today I just had a swim in my ice cold pool. That is very nice, jumping in, going in slowly, step by step, but never backing off. Not a cold dip. That's very different. You shock your body. You can do that too. That's one option. My option was to go in slowly, step by step. Then swim for 20 minutes. And it was a pleasure. Of course, you come out ice cold, but hey, you can warm up quickly. But the point is to stretch in a way that is body friendly. I don't live against my body anymore. I live my body because I am my body. And that is a big paradigm shift as well. Not from the old paradigm would be, I have a body. The new paradigm is, I am my body. And body is always body, mind, spirit at the same time. Quick side note for somebody, or many of you who like language. Do you know where the English word soul comes from? It goes back to the Greek word soma. And soma means physical body. So there's some hidden wisdom in language even we have to discover. And it's so much fun to look in longevity from every aspect you can. Because you always find something. It's very rich. So create a personal, compelling personal future vision. I encourage you today, make a 20-year plan. Not just for exercise. Oh yeah, the exercise is the 20-year plan, but include all the areas of your life, which means where do you want to be in your health? Where do you want to be financially? Where do you want to be emotionally? Where do you want to live? What car do you want to drive? Because there will be no more conventional vehicle available. Electric is the only option. Maybe we have new things. So you see, these things can be exciting, but already they shape up right now. Okay, probably you all learned last week that Hertz bought placed an order of 100,000 electric vehicles with Tesla. That's a signal for the future. So what are your stretch goals in that way? What are your longevity goals? For me is one of them I want to share with you. For my 100th birthday, I want to do my favorite hike, which is 6 days around the Mont Blanc, the highest mountain in the Alps. It starts in Italy, you go to Switzerland and back to France. It's a wonderful, challenging hike. And I want to do it again and again and again. 100th birthday, I will be there. That excites me. What excites you? It's very important to get in touch with that. What is your joy factor that propels you into the future and doesn't hold you back in the bar? So here's the inner longevity game. Now we go into the meat and potatoes of longevity coaching. Living from joy, not fear. In the middle of the pandemic, I got this gift, the invitation for a presentation for a local gifted students community here in Phoenix. They asked me to present in October 2020, the joy of being brilliant. Because their statement was, and mine too, if it's not fun to be brilliant, who wants to be brilliant? Who wants to be a genius? Who wants to stand out and show what you have to say and share? Fear is everywhere. Fear is rampant. Fear is probably the real pandemic that's worse than the pandemic, in my perception. We cannot fight it off, but we can replace it. This first line is a big, big topic. And everybody doesn't have enough fun in their life and wants to do something bigger. This is something to really start looking at. Do I have enough joy in my life? Number 2, embrace the mission impossible. Yes, we have no proof. And yes, we are still feeling it in our core. There's a desire to live longer and better because there must be more than this. Number 3, immerse yourself in learning and research and apply it to you. Pick those nuggets that really resonate, that hit home, and take action. The core of coaching is to bridge the gap between insight, wisdom, emotion, feeling, and the action. Because without action, knowledge is only very, very limited. Intellectual entertainment is wonderful, but there must be more than this. Intellectual insight put to action, that bears the fruits we really want to see. Number 4, see yourself as an exciting pioneer adventure happening right now. Don't expect standing ovations for what you do, because we are the most important minority. It will take a long time until millions of people catch on. But we know who we are and what we have to do. And it is a pioneer adventure. Personally, I love it. I could not be a life coach. I could not be an executive coach. I had to be a genius coach, which means carving my own brand, my own niche in the world of coaching, the colorful world of coaching. And I feel just comfortable. From that point, I can do executive coaching. I can do leadership coaching, and I do. Mostly I focus on gifted kids with learning difficulties. They need strong guidance because they're bored out of their mind. And boredom is mental torture. I feel strongly about that. I went through it myself as a student, always highly intelligent misfit. And I did something about it. And I'm so proud of it. Number 5, boost your burning desire to live a longevity lifestyle. What is that about? Okay. What does that lifestyle feel like, look like? What would it be if I really feel, okay, I build my longevity every week, every moment of the day? And that is such a new, colorful word. For me, it looks like switching from a black and white movie to a full-blown colored movie. That's from the mortal world to a longevity lifestyle. And then last, but for sure not least, trust your body as an unexplored biological miracle. And we get deeper into that. Because I still meet so many people that they treat their bodies, it's just good to carry my brain around. I exaggerate only a little bit. And this is probably absolutely the unexpected turn when it comes to real physical longevity coaching. Because I'm proud to be probably the only longevity coach that focuses on the body only. If I Googled it many times, longevity coaching, my other people that have the same label, longevity coaching, focus frequently on the spiritual side or on the visionary side, which is an important aspect, but it's just a part of the picture. I want to have the full gain and get the benefits. It's a win-win situation. So here's the walking miracle. This is the most sophisticated picture of a cell I ever could find. And it combines technology, radiology, radiographic resonance, and cryoelectronics. And what we did not know is we own 100 trillion cells, free and clear, sitting on our chairs right now as we speak. 100 trillion is a 1 with 14 zeros. Nobody in the world can imagine that number. Okay? It goes way beyond the mathematicians. They go maybe up to a million, a billion they can still capture mentally. Beyond that, no chance. So it blows our mind and it's physically real. I love this dichotomy so much because it opens a whole universe. Sometimes I have spiritual clients and then they tell me, okay, today the universe gave me this, the universe gave me that. Ironically, the amount of visible stars, stars in the visible universe is the same, 100 trillion. So if they talk to me, my spiritual clients, about the universe gave me that, my question back is, which one do you mean? This one or this one? I only can coach this one. Are you ready? And just imagine for a moment, 100 trillion cells communicating all the time, day and night. This is genius intelligence in action. Nothing less will describe it. We have no clue how that works. We just scratch the surface a little bit with our strong focus on brain and neurology right now. But the body communicating the same way, we just figured out that body memory is more important than the brain memory because it's long-term memory. The body basically, these cells have the same DNA. They can store the same information that brain cells can. We didn't even look at this yet. That's why we need to sleep so long, by the way, because at night, the brain goes into editing mode. It processes everything we took in that day before, which is up to 70,000 thoughts, by the way, and sorts it out. That's why we dream. And then it downloads it to the nervous system in body cells. So it's fresh the next morning for new information to come as an input. So we start to scratch that surface. There's a universe to explore. I call it physical intelligence, and I trademarked that name for a reason. So they are listening, these cells, they are receptive. And another number you need to know, I can give you numbers that talk about this for hours, probably half a day. That is 80% of the information goes into the brain that comes from your body cells. Only 20% comes through our senses. Here's another variation of this famous 80-20 rule. It's very, very obvious. 20% to the senses, we gave it way too much emphasis. 80% comes from our body cells all the time. So you see what a shift that means once we see these biological realities. I call this physical intelligence or common sense biology or body wisdom. That's what we have to work with. That is sitting in our chair, being ready at any given moment if we decide to tap into it. That's why I'm so fascinated about the physical intelligence, because it includes everything. If I'm physically fit and healthy, I'm mentally sharp, I'm emotionally available, and I'm socially connected and financially healthy, and the list goes on. So all these intelligences we focus on have the root cause in us being totally healthy. That's a universe, a real universe that wants to connect with other universes as well. So what can we do from the outside? The longevity shift, I call it, is to be joyful, thankful, and playful. So the end of willpower is close. Willpower is wonderful for short-term goals. Don't get me wrong. It has its merits. It works really well. I use it as well. But for the long haul and with longevity, hey, we are in for the long haul, okay? Beyond the marathon. We are on ultra marathons. The thinking needs to go there. What makes me feel now more energized? Because if I'm joyful, hey, I get more done in less time. Joy makes everything more efficient. And thankful, the same thing. Instead of looking forward at what I don't have, what do I have right now? Be thankful for the nuances, for the details, for the specifics. We educate our senses to look into the specifics of longevity. What are these key components? I mean, that's an endless story again, coachability I call. How is your thankfulness rating from 1 to 10? How is your joyfulness rating from a scale from 1 to 10? And to complete the triad, playfulness. Instead of analyzing problems, playing with problems. That's what kids do. And that's recently I made this a big deal. Begin with play. I always have a Lego box handy, box with Lego bricks. And if something insoluble, I start building. Because if you do that, you visualize something in 3 dimensions instead of 2. That expands the mind right there. I ask my executive clients, build your company vision in Legos. I give them Lego boxes. And then join your models in the middle and present back to us. You will be surprised to see the results. Instead of 2 days, it takes 2 hours. And when you play, you relax. I'll give you a little bit of a secret for that. Okay? And that is, when you relax, you go deeper. When you go deeper, you include your intuitive intelligence. And that's where the answers are. The gut feelings need to be in play. together with the intellect, together with the heart, the emotion. Now we go deeper into the physical part, intuitive intelligence. Then we have a game going that's faster. And that's what I'm after. So play, I will talk a little bit more about that. One of the gifts with COVID for me personally was to revolutionize my coaching, including longevity coaching. And that is, I discovered how do you teach joy. The beginning was this presentation already mentioned, the joy of being brilliant. And then my coaching mind kept going, how do we teach joy? It sounds to be impossible, especially with so much anger going on and hate going on and social media and misinformation and whatever. We cannot go to this quagmire because there's no end. It's just dark, 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 dark. We are the light in that darkness. How do we define ourselves? How can we teach joy? And the answer is play. That's how kids learn to enjoy themselves. Why do we stop? Play is the first language we learn before we learned English, internationally. Play works across generations. Grandparents fly across the country to play with their grandkids. It's energizing, it's joyful, it's opening. So instead of solving problems only analytically, there's a bigger dimension, and that is play. Architects build models before they build the building. They play with it. So it's a big, big, big deal behind it. And I developed a program called POP, Power of Play. I rolled it out for parents to play with their kids instead of talking to the kids all the time and getting angry and upset and started a fight. Instead of a fight, let's play. When talking just isn't enough, play works. In the meantime, I got a request for POP for teachers and POP for leaders. I delivered already my first leadership program based on play as a new leadership quality. And now to our longevity reality, POP for longevity, which means to play with your future, to build a model of your future, build a vision board if you like that is attractive, meaningful to you. What are my next 10 years going to look like? And or 20 years, the long haul. The biggest expansion in longevity coaching is educate our minds, rewire our brains, re-educate our brains to think long-term, not short-term. Short-term is survival. Long-term is life. Big fundamental difference. And everybody is absolutely irreplaceable in that game. It's not an option. You are important. I'm important. You are important. Important. What you have to offer is important to make that picture bigger. And many more people are going to join us. That is so important to understand. But keep it playful. There's no one way that's the right one. It's a multiplicity. It's a diversity. That's what we embrace. All discussions about skin color are just so obsolete, so outdated. It's like Windows 97. Ridiculous. Just ridiculous. There's no pay because we live on a higher planet. We live a higher consciousness, absolutely. The consciousness of longevity is beyond the consciousness of a mortal life. You go the cycle over and over and over again. I'm done with the cycle. We broke that cycle. We're out in the open. And that is actually very exciting. So longevity team building. If you do that, I always go through this checklist with my clients. Do you have a health coach, a lifestyle support that supports you and say, what's the best for you? Because our bodies are physiologically different. There's something to battle, to fight that needs to be taken care of first. The overall health screening, am I really healthy? The current medicine covers only the really, really bad, obvious symptoms. The most sophisticated one be a naturopath or a holistic health professional that you trust, that has your trust, otherwise it doesn't matter. Meditation support. Do you have quiet time where you go inside, have a chance to go inside and have a look? Which means one big skill we need to learn is listening to our bodies. Learn to listen to our organs, what they have to say. I call this meditation, we have a specific meditation for that, the Genius Coaching, called the body meditation. You can look it up on our website. You find 5 meditations in our store along those lines. Guided meditation to focus on your brain. I listened to my brain today. Unheard of so far. Hey, guess what? First of all, you need to say thank you. Thank you, brain, for processing 50,000 or 70,000 thoughts per day. That deserves a thank you. Exercise we do frequently is called a brain hug, like this. Thank you, Brene. I give you a big hug for thinking so much. If you would treat our employees like this, with ignorance, they would walk away. Our brain is so loyal. It's amazing. So brain hugs, it's a great support. And it's fun, gets out of the box.
Oh, did we lose him?
I am still here. I think we might have lost Otto.
Oh, bummer, man.
Well,
Right after the brain hug.
yes. Well, Otto has given us a lot to consider here in his presentation, and I hope we get him back soon. But
Yeah, there he is.
There he is. Okay. So we had a bit of a technical issue, but you're back now, Otto, and we'll try to get you the host role back soon. And while we're doing this, I think we can bring up some of the comments from our viewers because they have been quite active in the chat. And first of all, we'd like to thank Celeste Castaldo for her generous super chat. She says, the will to live plays a huge role in any medical system, including the allopathic medical system. And she also says that regenerative medicine is great for regenerating and supporting the body tissues. Hopefully we'll have more advancement in the area of regenerative medicine soon. Now, Otto, I believe you have the host role now, so you should be able to share your screen again and continue. And in the meantime, we also have a great comment and question from Alan Crowley, who also provided a very generous super chat. He says, love the idea of longevity coaching, and he wonders what kind of price tag, anything available for those of us who are not super rich. And I think that might be a question that you might want to address, Otto, when we get to that. Skip Siddiqui writes, I'd love to learn more about the possibility to collaborate and expand the longevity coaching in multiple languages to make it more tailored. And Celeste Castaldo agrees with that. She says, yes, it's important to have multiple languages and interpreters. Alan Crowley also agrees with the comment about the will to live. He says, right on, the will to live is foundational. So we have some great engagement from our viewers, and I can continue, but let's see if we've gotten you back, Otto, in terms of your ability to speak. Let's see. It seems he's still on mute. So unfortunately,
he's trying to talk.
Yeah, he's trying to speak, but he is on mute within Zoom. So if you could unmute yourself, that would. And in the meantime, yes.
There he is.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, so Otto, please continue, and we'll try to get you the slide share capability. I think you should have it right now.
Yes, it looks like it. Okay, well, thank you for managing the break, the interruption. I had some shaky internet myself going on, but we made it through the challenges, and I like it. So let's wrap it up for another 6 minutes. These are the longevity team building. It's on your team. Like I said, it takes a village to raise a child. It takes probably a city to be a longevity enthusiast and make it happen. So spiritual guides, educational resources, and the list goes on. But this is a good foundation to get started to think about having a team around you to build your own longevity and then pass it on to others. Longevity is contagious, for sure. So in the coaching world, we differentiate between outer challenges and inner challenges. Let's face it, beyond 50, society gently starts to usher you out. Okay, now in the 60s. Okay, if you're not sharp enough mentally, we understand that. And if in the 70s, you don't need to work so hard anymore. Come on, you deserve a little nest egg and live off that. So these kind of talks are non-longevity talks, which means we need to be mentally laser sharp to avoid these traps. It's Say, wait a minute, that goes for the majority of the people, but not for me, because I'm into longevity. What a great opportunity to educate our environment constantly who we are. It makes us sharp. Whatever they say or do, it doesn't matter. To hear yourself speak about longevity empowers us because it's our truth and it's our reality. Make our reality stronger is ongoing. Number two, seeking role models for longevity, not for dying. Those are plenty available, but for longevity, I gave you a few, but also know friends in this community who feel the same. And if you ever attend RADFest again next year, absolutely, there's a room full of 1,000 longevity enthusiasts. And online, we have, in the meantime, the RAD community has about 7,000 members. So we are growing. There's more than hope, there's reality. The other part is the inner challenges. Staying present in the middle of the storm, in the middle of everybody around you dying, which is not easy to face. If your parents die, your best friend dies, it's very, very emotionally a hit in the gut. But to focus in the middle of the storm on our own well-being, it's an ongoing challenge for longevity enthusiasts because we want to be authentic. In other words, walk the talk. I love to hear that you are such a passionate runner, Janati, because you mean business and I like it. So walk your talk, but I just said, it doesn't have to be perfect, it has to be alive and it has to be human. What we do with longevity, we humanize people. Death is not human. Okay, Janati, your book, Death is Wrong, is in my waiting room, in my practice. Kids need to read that. And it's true. It's so simple. Death is wrong. And it's cruel and it's brutal. Longevity is human, it's open-ended, and it's inviting and inclusive, not exclusive. Face your fears about your body and aging. Oh my God, a certain little pain. Those are early warning signals. No, it's a signal I neglected my body in this area. Whatever that is, knee pain, hip pain. I didn't pay attention. The body calls for help. That's what it is. Not aging symptoms. So flipping that coin is extremely important. That's why this coaching is so important, to have somebody to really give you a sound at any time and reinforce the truth in your own body. Then don't let your past define your future, because that's frequently people do that in their 70s. They talk about the past because they remember so well, and they lose interest about the future. They withdraw from computers, they don't want to catch up on technology anymore, and the list goes on. So that's the future calling. And deal with inner terrorists, or the gremlins or inner terrorists. I call them inner terrorists because most people in my business call it negative self-talk. For me, it's much more than that. Negative self-talk could mean, yeah, there's a dark side of me and the light side of me that talk to each other. Oh no, the dark side is like a parasite. It sucks the life out of us. When we are with negative people, we leave the conversation drained. It's physical. Our own negativity exhausts us. If we question ourselves over and over again, it's exhausting. We are so tired at the end of the day, not from hard work, from our own terrorist activity. Because he's a parasite on our life energy. That's what we need to watch. We do a whole chapter specific training, just inner terrorist management. Replacing the lies of the terrorists with the truth of our life. That's a big deal. Okay. And then longevity questions, a few things to spark your brain even more, very specific things. How long do you want to live? And people are shocked when I ask this question, of course. That's the intro session to longevity coaching. And interesting enough, everybody has a number. What I ask them to do immediately, let's say the number is 110, doesn't matter. I ask immediately, add a plus, 110 or more. Leave your options open in your own brain. If it's 85, whatever the number is, plus, plus, plus. And educate your brain, that's what I'm up to. The first 100 years might be a little difficult because they break the age barrier, but I go beyond. 100 plus is my goal. The number two, what would be an extraordinary life look like? As a longevity enthusiast, you cannot be an ordinary person. I'm sorry, no, I'm not. It just comes as a package deal. You stand out. And as a longevity coach, I help people to like it. You are special just by growing up and running around the block at age 9, and everyone looks at you, how old are you? that means you stand out. Gradually see yourself in that role. You are a role model for millions of people as a longevity enthusiast who is authentic. Number 3, what is your personal health plan for longevity? Because everybody has a different health history. Most of us, all of us, need to cover from the neglect of our bodies in the past. What is the best strategy to do? Individually different. Who in your life supports your longevity plans? Or is your family and friends all critical about it? Get new friends. You need to have support. People who boost you energetically and are in your court. And last but not least, number 5, what steps can you take now to stay independent? Which means to live your own life independent of any other support you might need as an aging person. So if you want to have the list of this question, please send me an email to admin@geniuscoaching.com. I'm happy to send you a sample because those are the specifics. So the short list, if you need more research, I mean, most of them you know, the Coalition for Radical Life Extension, RLA Coalition, the Life Extension Foundation, People Unlimited, of course, growingbolder.com is a good one, Sharp Again Naturally, sharpagain.com. So there are more and more resources out there. I'm very critical with them because I select carefully. There's also a lot of misinformation in the longevity world, as you know. So if I can help you along those lines, please let's stay in touch for sure. So as longevity coach, I do this just for you as information. The last one began July 8th. I help people become longevity coaches if they like to do so. And how will you grow bolder and not older? Here is the part where I'm wide open for questions, contributions, and Gennady of this genius to start a meaningful discussion. And I thank you again for the opportunity to present all this to you, enrich your brains and stimulate the discussion about my favorite topic, super or radical longevity. Thank you for listening so far.
Thank you very much, Otto. You are quite an eloquent and powerful speaker, and we really appreciate your insights and words of wisdom today. So the first question that I will pose to you is the one that Alan Crowley raised, and he wonders, what kind of price tag is associated with longevity coaching, and is there anything available for essentially people of ordinary means who are not super wealthy?
Absolutely. The investment is $250 for a longevity coaching evaluation session. Okay, based on that, the ongoing path is completely different because it depends on the outcome of this session. What makes sense for you in your current situation? Does longevity coaching make sense at this time or later? Does it need to spaced out for a whole year, only meet once a month? Do you need more input on a weekly basis? So all these customized solutions need to be discussed in the first evaluation session. But you'll walk away with a summary report, audio summary report, instant recommendations you can implement immediately. So that investment is already something that pays off multiple times.
All right, thank you, Otto. Now, Skip Siddiqui, our good friend from the Washington, D.C. Transhumanist Party, whom we've also had as a previous virtual Enlightenment Salon guest, he also has spent some time in Germany, and he is interested to learn more about the possibility to collaborate and expand the longevity coaching in multiple languages to make it more tailored. So I'm curious if you had considered taking the longevity coaching concept to other countries and training longevity coaches to spread it in other languages.
Absolutely. I only speak 4 languages myself, so that's like how fast as I can go. I'm very excited about the opportunity. Thank you for this question because it deserves a much bigger picture. So yeah, whatever we can do along those lines, I'd be happy to do that. My native language is German, of course. I can do that easily. English, of course. Spanish a little bit. Portuguese, I lived in Brazil for 7 years. That's as far as I can go personally. But that does not mean we need to back off from there.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And Daniel Twett has quite an intriguing comment. He writes, "Fortunately, the team sport of outwitting death and aging is full of quality of life in itself. And you mentioned taking joy in one's activities, particularly for the long term. Do you believe that one of the activities in which we should take joy is the very fight against aging and death, that it shouldn't be seen as a grim endeavor, it should be seen as a joyful endeavor?
I love this question and this comment. Absolutely, 100%, 3 exclamation marks. If it's not fun, we are just old-fashioned revolutionaries fighting against things and have a cause between us and other people. That's what longevity is not about at all. Longevity is inclusive. The biggest fight that happens is against our own negativity to begin with. Because whenever you leave the village and venture out, your inner terrorist has something to say about that. He or she wants to pull you back. No, longevity is not safe enough. Who told you that? Don't believe it. That's terrorist talk, okay? So that's the real fight that happens every day. And based on that, it is contagious. Spread this joy that comes when you have control over your inner negativity. That contagious, that's a victory feeling, a victorious feeling. That is contagious. And that's the fight that's joyful. Absolutely. Thank you. It was a great comment.
Yes, wonderful. Thank you, Otto. Now, we also have an interesting discussion in the chat between Daniel Twett and Sergey Gubkin. So Daniel points out that we do live in a youth-obsessed culture, and that in part contributes to the age discrimination that you mentioned, where people are gently ushered out after the age of 50 or 60, sometimes even younger than 50. And Sergey Gubkin points out that the youth-obsessed culture could be harnessed in a certain way to motivate innovation, to help us stay young. So what are your thoughts on this cultural obsession with youth? Do you observe it a lot? And how can we, especially given the fact that we're going to chronologically age, we hope we don't biologically age, but we're going to be in our 50s, 60s, 70s, hundreds, I hope, thousands, I hope. So how do we harness the cultural attitudes to our benefit and to the benefit of our quest?
First of all, we can learn from the young generation a lot in terms of technology and the use of social media and many other things. We just cannot win this battle because the obsession is an addiction. Addiction cannot be discussed. There's no chance. You cannot win this debate. Only thing we can do is outshine it. Be a light in the darkness, see the bigger picture. We have life experience they don't have. We see a bigger picture of life. Our experience is valuable. They don't need to repeat the same stupid mistakes if they want to. But to create this opening means you just need to be totally vital and alive. Your body language speaks louder than words. And definitely that's the only way to convince them. Let's have this discussion in 10 years again. Oh, but you will be, no, I will be whatever years on this planet. And by the way, I avoid the word old for a reason, because it puts you automatically in the category which is absolutely not escapable. I'm 71 years on the planet, yes, anytime. But that's it. I claim to be on that planet for many, many more years. So this mindset shift is the only convincing thing you can do by walking the talk and having the biggest smile in your face.
Excellent. So our legislative director, Jason Geringer, writes that he would like to hear more about the idea of gamification of longevity education, because you use play a lot in your coaching. And I have previously worked on an endeavor, it's still a work in progress, to resurrect an old tablet game from 2014, for which an alpha version was released. Unfortunately, the code has been lost, but the premise of the game is fascinating. It's called LEV, which stands for Longevity Escape Velocity. And the premise of the game is that one is essentially trying to live to a certain age. It could be 200, it could be 1,000, whatever the goal of the game is. And one makes decisions throughout the game with regard to one's health. So as time progresses, new medical treatments open up or new technological enhancements open up. And one has a certain amount of energy to spend per year on pursuing those treatments. And also random events can happen in the game that could increase or decrease one's remaining life expectancy. And how does one cope with that? So there's an element of chance. And I tried to reconstruct this game a bit, and I'm at the point where I have Excel spreadsheets with the logic of the game. We're going to need some programming assistance to implement it, but I'm curious what you think of the wider promise of gamifying longevity education, because a game like this, it could have real science behind it. It could have real medical concepts behind it. And that could reach a lot more people, especially younger people who love to play computer games or mobile games.
I'm so glad you bring this up, because gamification is a magic for learning in the future. Just a little science behind it, okay? We got feedback from neurobiology recently. It takes 400 repetition in conventional learning from workout spreadsheets and stuff to create a new nerve connection, a new synapses. If you play, it takes only 10 repetitions. That says a lot. The old-fashioned worksheet learning is just absolutely outdated. It's worse than Windows 97. Gamification is the future. Why kids are drawn into, why are these kids so crazy about video games? They learn through gaming. Why don't we feed them the real stuff, the real science, the real English, the real thing, to the game format? It's a bright, bright future. And from the coaching end, I just tapped a little bit into it. The first results I have now for half a year is just absolutely mind-blowing. My mind was blown by the results. Just parents and leaders telling me, oh, I have a choice now. Instead of fighting and screaming, I can play. Just need to figure out how. That is life-changing. And these games that simulate realities are absolutely priceless. Keep developing, Janari. You are onto something. Absolutely.
Wonderful. Thank you, Otto. And yes, the science behind gamification is quite intriguing. One also can't help but be astonished at how much time and energy people invest into certain games. And of course, certain games were designed to be extremely addictive, especially massively multiplayer online games like World of Warcraft. People have been known to play them for days at a time, sometimes to the detriment of other aspects of their lives. And for many years, I was thinking, what if we could take that addictive quality, harness it into constructive life-enhancing behaviors? And yes, people will be drawn to these games, but they'll be drawn to them in a way that leads them to take action in the external world, action with regard to their health, with regard to their knowledge, with regard to their connections with other people. I think something like that needs to be deployed at scale. And if so, it will change the world.
Completely right on, completely fascinating. Absolutely. That's where we need to go. Because all these addictive games, in my world of genius, addiction is misguided intensity. It's intensity to destroy yourself instead of build yourself. You can flip that switch to make intensity desirable. It's actually a hallmark of genius. Every genius that ever lived was intense or is intense. It's one of the 5 qualities a genius has. By the way, intelligence is not the quality of a genius. Creativity is. So, but the intensity needs to be redirected. So we get the same thing that right now works so destructive for flip it around 180 degrees and works for us, build this kind of life. Huge future, $1 million industry. I can see it very clearly.
Absolutely. And yes, I completely share your observation with regard to genius and intensity. Well, first of all, you radiate a lot of intensity yourself, but also when I see prodigies, for instance, and a great example of a prodigy is Alma Deutscher. She's a pianist, violinist, and composer. She was composing from the age of 4, I believe, and she's 16 right now, but she's capable of explaining musical concepts at essentially a PhD academic level. And when she does it, it's always with a great intensity. And of course, she's able to play virtually any passage on the piano to demonstrate what she's saying. But when I observe that, it's very clear to me that this is genius in action. And that's just one example. There are many individuals like this. But of course, you point out that every person has a genius potential waiting to be uncovered. And the key is to find the area in which that person is a genius? And for those who are interested in finding that genius, where does one start to look?
Geniuscoaching.com, and scroll down a little bit and take our Genius Challenge quiz. That's the easiest way to go. Then you find the variety of genius that's not limited to intellectual IQ or anything. It's way, way, way beyond that. And then if you're interested to explore what genius is, also individually different, okay? And if you like to play piano, why would you take tennis lessons? It just doesn't make sense. So that common sense, genius is not something special. Prodigy shows it very clearly because they cannot help themselves. Normal people bury that under whatever. I need to fit in, need to please mommy and daddy. I want to not fall out of my family. I want to be loved by my family. You compromise. I did myself. It took me 45 years to figure it out. And finally, I had to quit my job and say, whatever it is, if it kills me, I need to go for it. And I'm so glad I did and never look back. I was a conventional high school teacher in Germany and Brazil for 17 years until I couldn't stand it anymore. It took a midlife crisis to shake me out of it. They need to go with what I'm good at, helping gifted, bright kids and bright people to figure that out. It cannot be taught at school. It is individually different, like a fingerprint. Once you have it, your life changes. Your zest to life increases. Your zest to live. From that, you create a whole new life. That spells for me like longevity. You don't want to stop living because you have so much fun. You see so much value. You connect with other people. You are recognized over time. You become an expert over time. I've been doing this now since 2003. So I have a lot of expertise. I train other genius coaches already. One is in Belarus and one is in Perth, Australia. So I love that because I cannot hold myself back. And ultimately, my personal slogan is, I want to have so much fun that I forget to die.
Yes, that is an excellent ambition to have, to forget to die. That's wonderfully put. And now on the subject of gamification, we have some comments from Zach Richardson, our director of publication, and he mentions Fold It, which is a game that has existed now for more than a decade. And it was a game that harnessed human minds to solve protein folding synthesis problems. So it turned these very complex problems that until very recently, even AIs were struggling with. And each of these problems became a puzzle for humans to work on. And sometimes tens of thousands of humans were trying a particular puzzle, and they could address it in creative ways that were perhaps beyond the capabilities of AI at the time. And yet, so much was accomplished through this collaborative gamification mechanism. Now, Zach does say the tools for building collaborative gamification programs are, let's say they leave a bit to be desired right now. There is a platform called Habitica, which tries to gamify the formation of beneficial habits. And I actually tried to use it at Zach's recommendation. It does have a lot of attractive features, like you're a character who fights particular monsters and goes on quests, and you level up based on fulfilling your goals for the day and strengthening certain daily habits. So that's a very interesting framework, but Zach believes that it needs more of a collaborative aspect. And I'm wondering too, with regard to the Legos that you use, I actually own quite a large number of Legos myself. Interestingly enough, I purchased them a number of years ago from a 15-year-old kid, and the 15-year-old kid felt that he was kind of outgrowing them. He needed some spare pocket money with which he could buy things autonomously from his parents, and I decided to help him out. I told him, I'll give you $500 for the entirety of your Legos, and he owned a lot of Legos. So now I have boxes and boxes of Legos. For a person in my position, what should I do with them? What could I do with them? What do you encourage your clients to do with them?
This is wisdom in action, okay, Legos. What I encourage you to do is to package them up. I can teach you how to do it in packages that are meaningful, and start workshops about visionary, about creativity, about creating a longevity future. I use it all the time. My clients, I give them, what's your biggest challenge right now? Instead of talking, build it. Build your challenge in Lego. And it's amazing why you do this. You tap again into your body wisdom because you relax. You're not so focused on solving this problem right now. You let it sink in. This problem is a challenge. This problem gives me something to learn, gives me something to do something new and different I never did before. I need to relax to find a different solution. The playing with these little bricks helps you. Because if you think about it, this thing brought a small country like Denmark 80 years ago on the map, internationally, globally. Daily, 1.5 billion Lego bricks are printed. It's not out of date at all. There must be profound wisdom in this, and there is. From the coaching point, we can tap into this wisdom. So that's my short story. I can talk about Legos all day.
Yes, that's wonderful. Actually, having that exposure to Legos has generated some interesting thoughts in my mind. For instance, in our homes, we have a lot of fixtures. And these fixtures, if we want to change anything about them, if we want to upgrade them, if we want to repair them, sometimes that requires tearing out large portions of the home. Like if you have a floorboard that is defective and you want to replace it, you need to take out the entire floor and then get new floorboards. If you have a broken tile, it's very difficult to replace just that tile. In your kitchen, if you have cabinets that are built in, it's very difficult to say, well, I just want to change this one cabinet or this one door of the cabinet. No, you have to have an entire kitchen remodel, and that can take your kitchen out of commission for months. So what if you could have a Lego-like system for constructing homes or components of homes? And could that be the future? And could that make the lives of millions, if not billions of people so much easier?
It will be, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I just love how you produce ideas and visions for the future as we speak in 5 minutes or less. That is a wonderful skill to have.
Yes, thank you, Otto. Now, Zach also says he likes how you mentioned step counters. So I have a Fitbit here as well, and there are many other devices that people use these days to measure their fitness and their activity. Have you found in your work that those serve as good motivators to get people out there, get people exercising, get people to improve their fitness and health?
If your inner game desires that, I have an Oura Ring. Okay, I love it because I can't wait to see the next morning how did I sleep. And I love to track my sleeps, to track the history and see whatever the day was before. It reflects my sleep pattern. I love this kind of data. But you need to have an affection, need to care about your data, which means I care about my body. I want to know what's going on, especially when I sleep. Or to how do my exercises impact my sleeping patterns? Those are things that are easy to answer. And that's definitely the way to go. I think that's the future, to have something like this. If you're interested in what's going on in the nervous system, my heart rate variability, I would never guess that. I like to see the pattern behind it, absolutely, because it adds value to my life. I love to add value to my life every day. I just love it because it feels so good.
Yes, indeed. It does. And when you're making incremental progress, it's the same kind of feeling one gets when one advances in a game, because one can see the benefits, one can see the results of one's own action. And I think for many people, it's difficult initially because there's this time delay between the action and the result. But I think if you take enough of these actions over a period of time and you start seeing the results come in fairly rapid succession, that motivates you further, that increases your level of enthusiasm.
That is for sure a given. And the other side is I educate my clients, especially longevity clients, to become more sensitive to what I call micro victories. The little things you make, the little, let's say you did not eat sweets today, or you stopped this chocolate craving for a day. That is a micro victory. That counts. And based on these micro victories, have 1 million of them, you have a complete habit change. Habits do not change overnight, but micro victories are countable and measurable. That's what I go for, because people love results. I do too. Results that are joyful and point me in the right direction.
Yes, indeed. Now, David Shoemaker brings in an interesting subject area for us to discuss. And of course, we're the US Transhumanist Party, so we have to talk about politics a bit in this session. And he suggests there might be an oxymoron here, but is it possible to bring genius and politics together? And if so, how might we do that?
Become a member of the Transhumanist Party. That's the only way.
That's the only way. There, you heard it from Otto Siegel himself. Join the US Transhumanist Party. Membership is free. It's open to anyone in the world. Please, let's bring genius and politics together. That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
I love this conversation.
Thank you so much. Now, Jason Mallory has an interesting comment here. He describes an aspiration that he characterizes as a life worth living for myself and my food. And he says this is a framework like a moral gravity that we should consider. And it's interesting that he brought food into this because food sustains an individual. It can be a source of health. Sometimes it can be a source of ill health. And I would say it's one of the most challenging aspects for many people these days to deal with, because the widespread availability of food is so different from what our hunter-gatherer ancestors faced. And our hunter-gatherer ancestors had the temptation to eat a lot of calorie-dense foods as much as possible when they had access to them, because they did not know if they would have access to them the next day. And if they caught a big animal one day, they might not have that fortune for many months. But of course, today it's a very different reality, and these instincts that were beneficial to our ancestors can be harmful to people. And I think many people react to stress by recourse to food. So how can food be turned from a potential problem area in one's life to an area that reinforces one's health?
That is such a brilliant question. Thank you so much. Again, an hour talk easily about food and nutrition. But that's one point we cannot learn from the past. And what we face is totally over nutritional value. But one thing I want to help you focus on, we all face inflammation. We all do. That's a future problem. That draws from the future. And I want to recommend you one book I read and work on it. It's a cookbook as well. Terry Wald's Cooking for Life. I listened to her because she had MS and is a medical doctor. And at the end, she was wheelchair bound in her 30s. She promised her kids, I do everything to stay alive as long as I can, and started to radically change her food. Only healthy recipes that are tasting really good, that are simple to prepare, all of them. After 6 years, she wrote, get out of the wheelchair and rides a bicycle. Terry Watts. These are people I listen to. They walk the talk. In the meantime, she has a huge international movement going on about her own sickness, because people with multiple sclerosis are everywhere. There's a huge following because she did it. And that's what we just cooked the dessert today after her. Everything is delicious. I went back to the kitchen together with Susanna, and we cooked that stuff because I'm interested in fight my inflammation with every meal I take in. I'm radical, I can tell you. and it's so much fun. It tastes so well. It's delicious. Only healthy, organic food, of course. Get the best food you can. Be radical about it. Don't buy into the thing, food shuts down emotions. Of course, people do that. That's another addiction. Obesity is rampant because we get the wrong food. I just learned about plaque building in the intestinal system, which I never ever paid attention to. And I figured out there's a cleanse out there taking care of plaque in the whole intestinal system. If you have plaque in your intestines, guess what? Your food doesn't even enter 100% where it's supposed to go. So we eliminate way too much, which is absolutely waste, literally. So on Monday, tomorrow, I start this program because I want to know what that is. I never heard about it before. As we go into these resources, that's the People Unlimited member who told me. And it made so much sense. I bought the book, I read it. I never heard it before. All the cleanses I ever did are just not that effective. I know this for sure. So as you stay part of this network, you get new information. I got this 3 weeks ago.
Interesting. So it seems, Otto, you're a bit it seems that you're a bit of a biohacker yourself then. One of our other recent guests, Dr. Bill Andrews, who of course is very well known to the People Unlimited community, also characterized himself as a biohacker, and he does a lot of systematic experimentation with various substances. He keeps detailed track of his reactions to them, any symptoms, any side effects that he may not have anticipated, and he adjusts accordingly. So given that you engage in some of that as well, what advice would you have to people about how to do that responsibly, especially as they accumulate years and perhaps there could be more side effects and more interactions to be concerned with?
Yeah, definitely one thing is go for quality over quantity. Okay. If people just eat a lot of food, low quality, the body has a craving to get quality food, to build these building blocks, all these proteins we need every day, requires quality ingredients. And that you cannot have any harmful side effect, just step up the quality. Whatever that means in your life, that's one path you need for sure to follow. And then of course, it's specifics depending on where you come from. What health history do you have? That's where the coaching comes in, because it has to be designed individually. I cannot give advice for everybody, but that is one direction to go. Quality over quantity. The body will be so thankful.
Yes, indeed. There's a lot of promise in the approach you describe. Now, Daniel Twett writes, food is nutrition and oxidative stress, and the goal is to maximize one and minimize the other, but food also has comfort aspects that are not fully understood. And of course, comfort eating is a phenomenon, especially for people who have challenges in their lives. And sometimes they respond to the challenges by perhaps indulging in food because it's an escape or it's stress relief. And that can be deleterious at times. It's not the worst habit to have. Certainly alcoholism, drug abuse, other kinds of pursuits can be much more damaging, but comfort eating, I think, affects more people, and it can be insidious over a longer period of time. So how can one address that kind of challenge, which I think a lot of people struggle with, even if they're successful in many other respects?
Yeah. I'm so glad this is such a good topic again for our discussion, but the short of it is we peel this label of comfort eating and look what's behind. There's always an unfulfilled emotion, unfulfilled desire, be it desire for a higher quality life, being a desire for more self-expression. Those are more frequent ones, which means by peeling this label of comfort food eating, we get to the root cause in the inner game. And that's the only way to change that, is to replace it with something better. So we need to find out, so what do you like? What do you have for breakfast? How about do you need more variety in your food? Because if you eat the same breakfast for 10 years every day, it turns toxic, guaranteed. The body loves variety. So there's a lot of discussion to have, but definitely stay away from food programs and diets as much as you can, because it's always the flashback, because it doesn't go to the roots. Emotional eating is a big topic, but I want to see the emotion behind the emotional eating. That's where the solution is.
Yes, that's quite insightful, to find that emotion and then replace the comfort food with something else that more reliably and constructively satisfies that emotion.
And it has to taste really good. Okay, I request that. Otherwise, you won't keep it.
Yes, very good point. So this is an interesting observation from Celeste Castaldo. She says, it looks like Madonna stopped aging. And I'm curious, do you agree with that characterization?
I'm not close enough to her. I want to see her in action, because I only can judge if I see a person either very close on the screen or be in the same room with him or her, because body language speaks loud and clear. You can have images and cliches and Adobe Photoshop and video editing, but that's not the story. Okay. I believe in the real physical interaction, and preferably in the same room, so I know exactly what's going on. That's also my skill as a longevity coach. I'm proud of. I honed that skill to really see through the facade, to see through the images you might have about your own longevity, and see the real desire to live a long, healthy, and prosperous life. That desire can be bone deep. Whatever I can do as a longevity coach to make that deeper, your own roots in your own desire to live long and healthy lives. And I love to do that.
Mhm. And of course, with Madonna, she's a celebrity. She has a whole team of people to manage her image. And so it is a question of how much of what we see is her real self versus the facade, as you described. And of
That's
course,
right.
it's possible to create a facade of youthfulness and health for a person, but what is underneath that? Maybe she is very healthy and young for her age, but it's true, we don't know that just from looking at her public appearances.
Right.
So very, very important to keep that in mind. Now, I also want to go around our panel and see if our officers have additional questions for you. Let's start with Art Ramon Garcia.
How do you feel about chiropractic sessions? Do you think there's any benefit from getting that? They say that you're out of adjustment, then that causes other health issues, and compare that with, say, with Bikram yoga.
I would say radically both. It does not replace each other, because also the chiropractic adjustment is make sure you trust your chiropractor and you know where he comes from and what his philosophy is about the body, because you are in charge of your health, okay? All the health practitioners you have around you support you as a CEO of your own health. So over time, you develop body sensation. If I get adjustments, does it make me feel better? And that counts. That counts. That's the only thing you have to gauge the impact of chiropractic adjustment. Bikram yoga is wonderful for strengthening, for flexibility, and for agility. I did it myself for 5 years and still doing it because it's so much fun to sweat the whole toxic out of your body. It's definitely healthy, no question. And the chiropractic adjustment is a whole different ballgame.
All right, thank you.
It makes sense?
Yep.
Good, thank you.
All right. Thank you. Now, Zach actually was intending to ask that question as well, but now that we have Zach in the chat, perhaps he would want to pose a different question.
Hey, really enjoying this session so far. I think you touched on something interesting, which was that if you're not aware, there is starting tomorrow a bit of a celebration, a holiday, a challenge many men around the world will be engaging in for 1 full month. And for many, it may require a lot of self-discipline. Now, you mentioned that self-discipline in working towards the goals of longevity is something that is not really enough. And it's something that I think we've seen in science has some limited quantities. There's differing research on that. But can you talk a little bit more about how you can incorporate play, if that was your yin to the yang, or your alternative to self-discipline, to incorporate having more of these longevity, life-giving practices with yourself, and how can you make something that seems tedious into more of a challenge or more of a play, or something that seems like you're denying yourself into more play or fun? Or how do you do it? Can you talk on self-discipline a little bit more?
Yeah, there's 2 kinds of disciplines, okay? One is the willpower driven one, that you make your mental goals and you really make sure you do steps, but your mind controls it. I call it the old paradigm, mind over body. Now, this has been dominating the self-help industry for decades. Everything's Think and Grow Rich was written in the 40s. This is going on with Tony Robbins and everybody. The new one is mind and body. And that's where the joy comes in. If you, let's say, you can reach your back only like this today, but you practice every day. And next week, oh, I can do this. That is micro victory. And then you progress because you want to do that. Yeah, of course, they're going to reach further, want to reach higher, want to reach more to the side. So with the kids, I do this game a lot. Can you do this with your body? And this means standing on one leg, whatever. Okay, make it up. It means set your own challenges to be more flexible. If that's your goal, being more flexible, more agile, there are specific steps you can do depending on your body situation. Now, you want to improve that, you be very specific with that, and you follow through. There's another guy I can recommend along those lines, totally, the knee over knee over toes guy, Ben Patrick, Google him. He's all over the internet. He was recovering himself from knee injury already when he was 16 as a basketball player. And the doctors told him he will never be able to jump high. He said, I will jump 40 inches in the air. And he researched everything. He found out how to protect your knees, how to develop the muscles around it. And then he jumps 40 inches high as we speak. And he is 29. So there are people out there that went through this suffering, but they learned from it in a positive way, in a joyful way. And that's why the body gives us these lessons. Pay attention, look where the pain is, but don't go into the pain and suffer. Use it to turn it around, find solutions, research the internet, find experts. I gave you 3 experts today, including me as 4. So use these experts to figure out what is my solution. That gives you the discipline in a whole new way. I want to do it, not I have to do it. And that is day and night difference. This kind of discipline I love, and I need it for my longevity because I'm in for the long haul. And that requires discipline, but I want to have fun with it because that makes me to do it even if I don't feel it. I like your smile in your face.
Yeah, you got a good joy to you that is really shined through in this presentation. And I think the stakes being death and elimination of your consciousness for all eternity is something scary enough that it makes people feel like, God, I better get serious about this, and kind of put their nose to the grindstone and work as hard as possible as you can on it, which I guess you still got to do. And at the same time, I guess what you're saying is if you can make more of a game of it and find some experts. It's funny you mentioned the Think and Grow Rich. I'm listening to some Brian Tracy right now. I like him once in a while, but he bases a lot of his stuff on Think and Grow Rich. So mind and body versus mind over body. Yeah. I'll take that into account.
Good. Yeah, let it sink in what that really means on a level. The body wants to have fun, okay? My heart is not working hard. My heart has fun to do the job. My liver is joyful unless I make it miserable myself. My stomach loves to digest almost a ton of food in 2 years. That's when you add up all the lunches and dinners. Do the math, okay? My organs are joyful by nature. It's time to listen. So that's physical intelligence, that's body wisdom in action. Yeah, discipline with a smile in the face. The hard job can be an intense job, but not hard labor. Slavery is over. Mindset shift. I like to work intense, but not hard.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. And it's interesting because I have been running for a long time, as you mentioned, Otto, and in recent months, I have been experiencing some breakthroughs in terms of setting new speed records at running races. On October 3rd, I set a half marathon speed record by 5 minutes faster than my prior record. And just today, I set a speed record for the 10-kilometer distance, 46 minutes and 6 seconds, which is faster than I've ever run that distance. I'm faster now than I was when I was a teenager. And I did notice a mindset shift. And I have to admit, this year has been full of challenges for me, but these challenges were in other areas outside of running. So running for me became not a chore, not, in my view, a difficult task that I had to do to keep my body in shape, but rather it became a task that I wanted to do, something I was looking forward to, something that I wanted to make time for and I needed to make time for despite my other challenges. So one of the challenges I was faced with was a massive smoke inundation in northern Nevada from the California wildfires. And the smoke got so bad that the air quality index was nearing 700. Now, by comparison, the entire AQI scale generally goes up to 500, and anything over 300 is immediately hazardous to one's health. So I realized I needed to get out of northern Nevada. And one of the reasons why I made that realization was I wanted to run. I wanted to have fresh air to run in. So I took a trip to Chicago for 10 days, and I was able to find just beautiful running paths and clean air, explore every single day. And when I came back, one, the smoke had cleared. Two, there were all of these running races all of a sudden, and I became faster, and I kept becoming faster. And it was because I turned running from essentially a chore into a passion.
What a wonderful, wonderful example. Thank you for sharing with us.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Otto. Now, let's see if Ben Ballweg has a question.
Hi, Otto. Thanks for your presentation so far. I did have one question that I had brought to this session. Just kind of want to know, as you are dealing and meeting people that are first exposing themselves to the longevity space, I'm curious how to reach others that are kind of like sitting on the fence and are going toward checking this out. So I wondered if you could tell us kind of who you see as being the fence sitters in this space. Who are the ones that we might just be able to get to be interested in longevity and come with us on this wonderful journey?
Great question. Thank you so much. So one thing is, some people sit on the fence for a long time. There's nothing you can do. What helps a lot is to share your own story, to share your own progress, to share your own micro victories, because you build a relationship with them, you build an emotional connection. And people love to buy from a feeling. If you show, I can do this, you can do this. I have my challenges, so do you. I encourage you to go to your challenge, you even open what those challenges are, what's holding you back from longevity. But keep these conversations going. Some people come along around for after a long time. Do not give up. For example, I write a genius tip every week, every Monday morning. So tonight I will write one about this conversation today. So, but the point is to keep this conversation going and make it attractive for people to chime in. The more personal you are, the more you are attractive. So the new future, the new paradigm, the mind and body has a powerful leadership tool called vulnerability. It's no longer power presentations. It's no longer impressing somebody. It's making somebody feeling valuable. That requires our own vulnerability. That's a powerful leadership tool for the future and the most powerful communication tool.
That's very interesting. Thank you, Otto. And the way in which you use the term vulnerability, I have been hearing that use increasingly often, but of course, the term has multiple connotations. And one of them is being authentic and sincere about the challenges that one is facing as a way to try to get a resolution to those challenges. But of course, the other, perhaps more established definition is if you're vulnerable, something can more readily get you. So how can you be more open about your challenges while still having the ability to resist or prevent something from getting you as a result of that?
Yeah, excellent question, excellent comment again. The point is, vulnerability is a risk. Absolutely. You only take it with a person you really feel close to. You build up trust first before you're vulnerable. Absolutely. That's just normal human. We need to protect our hearts, not being naive and stupid. We know that. But and you still take a risk. You never know what's really going on in that person. That's why if a person is hesitant, it's actually a blessing. They come off the fence when they are ready. We have nothing to say about that. In terms of vulnerability, I give you a fifth person who is an authority for me, Dr. Brene Brown. The Power of Vulnerability. Her TED Talk was viewed 55 million times. There must be something right with her. So look it up. She has two major topics as TED Talks. The Power of Vulnerability is one. And then the second one, Listening to Shame. Both I highly recommend. This is the future. Okay. What she invites. I totally included it into playfulness, because when you play, you can be vulnerable. Absolutely. You don't have the answers. You just you play with that. So there's a lot that comes together, new puzzle pieces when we talk about longevity. And these puzzle pieces are powerful and deserve to be connected. I'm all for this as a mentor coach, genius coach, and longevity coach to connect the dots for every person I meet.
Yes, thank you very much, Otto. And Zach Richardson says that he read her book, Brene Brown's book on the power of vulnerability. So we already have some exposure to her work in our community, but I'll post a link to the TED Talk as well. Now, I'm curious if Jason has further questions.
Yeah, I was wondering if you could explain a little bit more about the 80%, 20% stuff on what you should eat. And also maybe what would be your recommendation? What if like somebody's in the position where they can't really get quality food? What are like the basic must-have vitamins that they should maybe be taking? And what would be your suggestion on you know, like bare minimum, you know? And what's the about the 80-20, where did that come from? What you know,
so
can you explain that?
Thank you, Jason. Those are 5 questions. It's an hour conversation. You know that?
Well, whoops.
So the 80-20, very simple, okay? Simple human anatomy. Just compare the nerves that lead from the senses back to the brain with the nerves that lead back from the body to the brain, the spinal cord and the vagus nerve. Just the sheer diameter, the capability to transmit signals. That's where the 80-20 comes from. Basic biology, nobody pays attention to. But I know this, I like this about my physical intelligence approach because it's common sense biology. No scientist in the world to contradict it. I don't need to prove it, it's so cool.
So it might be like a fractal number.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So just pure anatomy, that's the number one. Then what you bring up is so important, basic nutrition. A pound of organic spinach, okay, is healthy nutrition, $1.29. Apples are organic, $3.56 a pound. It's quality nutrition. Supplements, at least a multivitamin and vitamin D, everybody can afford that. So even if you look at bare minimum, look at the healthy version of the bare minimum. The money does not stop that quest. The more you build your body, the more your income capabilities comes up as well. Because you feel more about yourself, the value you have, how irreplaceable you are, and that brings up your value and your earning potential. So it's more that goes into this, but that's a favorite coaching topic. Absolutely.
I'm not the first person to have said that health is the greatest wealth, but I firmly believe that because if you have good health, you have the ability to be productive. You have the ability to earn wealth or achieve whatever you want to achieve. If you don't have good health, then it's very difficult to achieve even something you would have been perfectly capable of achieving otherwise. So now let's go to David Shoemaker.
David Shoemaker.
I can see you, Otto.
Long time no see.
I mean, I've got height on, and height is Susanna as well. Hey, this has been fascinating, and I've always loved hearing you talk, especially talk on this subject. You're so passionate about it. But one thing I did want to ask a question on is you were responding to somebody else's question about how to affordably get involved. And you mentioned this initial evaluation. And I thought, well, that's a really great idea.
Yeah.
So they come to you with the idea of they want to, improve their genius. They want to be, what do you encourage a potential client or your current clients for that matter to define genius as? Do you encourage an individualized definition? Talk to me a little bit about that. I found that fascinating when you were talking about the initial evaluation.
Yeah, they can go 2 ways. Okay, often a genius evaluation or longevity evaluation. Longevity, somebody comes to me and tells, there must be more than this. I want to live longer. And here's what I have in place. So we take an inventory of what's already going. And then one question will be, how deep is your desire to live longer? On a scale from 1 to 10, and everybody has a number. If it's 7 or up, we can work together. If not, come back later.
Right.
I need to have this burning desire, the willingness to change. Otherwise, my coaching will be a waste of time and money. I'm very clear about that. Because if we coach, there will be an investment. And I want to see the return on my investment. And in the evaluation, we find out if that's the case or not. But they also get the feedback, where are you at the status quo of my longevity? The other one is the genius evaluation. That comes for people who know there must be more than this. Very simple. That don't know what area it is right now. Do I need to write a book? Do I need a new job? Do I need a consulting gig? Do I need to be a freelancer? What is that? I'm itching. I'm hitting my own glass ceiling. And I'm a qualified professional. I have a long-standing career behind me. I know in your case, I know a little bit what your career is. You're a highly successful professional. I know your secrets a little bit. And highly qualified IT person. I mean, you have so much going on. But if that's the repackaging, okay, that's the other side. So genius evaluation or longevity evaluation. And then based on that, the lay of the land, personal recommendations. That's the value you walk away with right away.
So then it is individualized. Every person walks away with something different.
Oh, yeah.
And something that's actionable.
Absolutely. Otherwise, you won't do it. Following somebody's advice, how boring is that?
Otto, you're awesome. Thanks for being here today.
Absolutely, David. My pleasure to talk to you.
Yes, thank you very much, Otto. And in terms of genius being personalized, I'm reminded of the example of Jim Walmsley, who is a world ultramarathon champion, especially in the realm of trail running, whom I've met personally, actually, because he came to Northern Nevada and he happens to be friends with quite a few people in my running circle. So I went on a trail run with him, and he can run twice as fast as I can. He gave us all a head start up a steep hill, about 1.4 miles going up the hill. And he started when we were halfway up. He beat all of us, but then he ran with me at the same pace that I was running. And he and I just had a really nice conversation about trail running and about his habits. And he seemed to be just a very genuine, authentic type of individual. But there's a profile of him in the New York Times about how he got started. And it's interesting reading his story, because for a while he felt that his life didn't have any purpose. And he was in this remote area and he just started running. He started running a lot, and he found that he had the aptitude for running trails, running them faster than anybody else, running in very difficult conditions. And he can do like 5-6 minute miles on trails. It's remarkable. So he is a prime example of somebody whom, if you interact with him, if you didn't know who he was, he can come across as an ordinary person, a nice guy, somebody who will reach out to you at your level. And yet he has this ability. He found it. And I was thinking, I think all people have something of that sort. It's just different in every person. And how do you find that? How do you unlock that? That, I think, is the key. So I really want to thank you for the work that you're doing. If it can help more people succeed in their chosen areas the way Jim Walmsley had succeeded in trail running.
Mm-hmm. What a great example for genius. Absolutely. I saw him run once in my life at the Tour de Mont Blanc. He won the Tour de Mont Blanc that year in 2018. And he is a fascinating, totally modest and present person. No ego, and I love that.
Yes, indeed. So you and I have the same impression of him. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's absolutely wonderful. So we have a few more questions from the audience. Scott Schiff has a very interesting question. He wonders, are some of the problems we're seeing today actually the result of being at the beginning of the singularity? Of course, the singularity is described by various futurists, and the common denominator of that description is accelerating change, perhaps change that accelerates so much that our human minds, at least with their current limitations, often can't keep up with all of these dynamics and processing them and understanding them. So the world seems chaotic. It seems like there are so many changes and so much turmoil very quickly. Do you think that suggests that we may be nearing a technological singularity or some other type of singularity, a social singularity, or is this just chaos that we have to figure out a way to get through and overcome toward a better era of our civilization?
That's another hour of response. Oh my gosh, guys, you are so phenomenal. So here's what it is. In a nutshell, it's hard to shorten this one because it's so rich. Thank you. First of all, artificial intelligence, okay? I will never download my brain. I love to give a lot of information I've accumulated to an artificial intelligence receptor so I can come up with new ideas. I love to delegate. I love to save my files already in my computer so I know it's stored somewhere. Gives me more creativity. I love artificial intelligence. It takes out the legwork in a whole new level. But the problems come in place when the majority of people dig in their heels. It sounds so good, but I don't want that because. My brain is faster than a computer. I can think myself to Jupiter in 5 seconds. Computer cannot do that. Okay, I'm not impressed. We are still in charge, especially with the latest technology. The singularity is also in case from my end, when we finally embrace who we are as singular, unique people who are in charge of the technology, who direct the technology we want, not into cyber crimes, but into technology we want to the purpose that we need. And that's beneath the majority of really smart people, not only smart in their brains, but smart in their heart and their whole bodies. There's a whole holistic way of smartness that has to take over. And I can't wait for this to happen. And I think the work you do and we do together is extremely important from that big picture. Otherwise, technology can get out of hands easily, like the first nuclear bomb did get out of hands. And many examples in history teach us that lesson what not to do. So with artificial intelligence, we have a whole new way to shut down each other's energy system or banking system. That's a whole new level of war. We can see that. Do we go there? Can we prevent this? I don't know, because it's out of my control. But I can process it in my mind already how to stay away from that. So a big part of longevity also includes what not to do. We outsmart this whole thing instead of being caught up in it. The majority of people they don't destroy themselves. They don't even know what they're doing. It's self-destruction. I'm not in their pace. I'm the opposite. I'm in self-building. Just the opposite. They are dark. I'm in the light.
Yes, indeed. And right now, of course, there's an extensive political fray. There's an extensive cultural fray.
Yeah.
And it's extremely important, in my view, to stand above the fray or fly above the fray toward a brighter future. We are not left wing or right wing. We are upwing, as transhumanist thinkers going all the way back to FM 2030 like to point out. And this is where I think the Transhumanist Party can offer a home and a refuge for people who don't want all of this social chaos in their lives, but they do want to pursue their personal goals. They want to discover their genius. They want to lengthen their lives. They want to improve their quality of life. And I think this is still possible. Now, I wonder, how do we convince the masses that it's possible? Because if we convince the masses that it's possible, we solve the cultural and political problems.
Yeah, we can't, unfortunately. I mean, go back to my Einstein quote, enthusiast. And one of them that impressed me was, there are only two things that I see to be limited. One is the universe, and the other one is human stupidity. And he said, I'm not so sure about the universe. Absolutely no chance. The only thing we can do is being contagious. Personal. And by this contagious, that makes viruses successful. We learned this from Corona internationally. We can do the same thing on a human level, to be contagious with our light, not with our darkness. I know it sounds like nothing, but I trust just by us being around for decades instead of years, that gives us the time. We need to buy time to do that. And in the meantime, take care of ourselves extremely well.
Yes, absolutely. And hopefully the conversation we've had today will be contagious, at least for some people, to be drawn to our community, drawn to the Transhumanist Party, drawn to Genius Coaching to see what they can uncover in themselves. And if they're interested in these ideas, of course, we hold these virtual enlightenment salons weekly. And I would say that's a much better way to spend one's time than immersing oneself in media or pop culture these days. Jason points out in our chat, we should refuse to get caught up in the Machiavellian quicksand. Don't play a zero-sum game, play a positive-sum game where we can all grow, we can all improve.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So we have another discussion going on in our chat, and I would be interested in how you would address this. So Sergey Gubkin wonders, and these are his words, aren't all holistic medicine and holistic approaches already settled to be pseudoscience? And Alan Crowley responds in his words, I think it is in the way the word holistic is used. Surgery with a diet that reduces inflammation along with proper exercise, along with visualization, will certainly work. And so some people call that a holistic approach, and that they consider more than just what a doctor would do in his office, for instance, or as part of a medical procedure. And I wonder how you view that term, holistic medicine or holistic healthcare. What is your perspective on it?
Holistic for me means including the whole body, which means body, mind, and spirit, okay? And we need all of it. We need allopathic. Surgery is not a homeopathic thing to do, okay? Surgery and diagnostic measurement, MRIs are all in the world of traditional medicine, and we need it. The other one is the more subtle medicine, preventing long-term diseases, and the conventional medicine has no clue about that. So we need both. It's not either or. And more important is that you trust your holistic doctor, because it's very personal thing to open all this information, even let him or her help you find even more about your situation, and address it on a more subtle level. So both has its merit, absolutely. They're well-trained naturopathic doctors, well-trained nutritionists, absolutely. Ask for qualification, ask for referrals or references, talk to other patients, interview them first. Be careful, you're in charge of your health, nobody else is. Everybody you choose has a piece of your puzzle. And over time, this might change. You might need a different doctor because you have a different issue coming up. So let's keep this whole thing human. The big thing is to humanize the world. For me, a big part of my mission is to humanize education, to stop these nasty fights and the useless debates about the right and wrong thing, because it's just not the level of our conversation anymore. If I need a surgeon, I wouldn't call my naturopathic doctor. No way. And vice versa. I have both of them. And I make it a point. I build my team, even if it's right now I don't need a surgeon. Maybe I do one in 5 years, might have a bicycle accident. Who knows? But I want to have a phone number. So being proactive instead of reactive, just about also educating each other to see the bigger picture. It's very important.
It's very interesting perspective. And Daniel Twett points out in the chat, science is not being practiced at its best level yet. To think our current state of scientific practice is exhaustive is fairly naive in his opinion. And again, that's not an indictment of scientific medicine. It's just, I think, stating the obvious. There are many things we don't know yet. And I've had in my own experience situations where doctors have told me, well, you have this condition, we have no idea how it got to be this way, and we don't have a clear idea of what you should do about it, but you can engage in trial and error to a certain extent and see if you find something that works for you. And a doctor even told me there are some respects in which medicine today is still in the Stone Age. That's not to say we shouldn't use the tools that we have. Of course we should, but we should also try to discover more.
Yeah. In terms of longevity, we are beginners. Okay. We are the first generation of human beings on this planet, even embark on this journey. So let's cut ourselves some slack, and the scientists too. They don't know. We don't even know how long the COVID vaccine keeps us absolutely immune. We have no data. We have no data because it never happened in history. So let's be really easy on ourselves and our fellow members in science and research, because they are passionate about finding the next piece of our puzzle. What they do is important, even if they don't have the answers for us. We are all in this together to find new answers. The old ones are just outdated, like Windows 97. We cannot learn from the past. And it's a very uncomfortable place to be. That's why my work as a longevity coach is to constantly expand that mindset for being too narrow, focused on blaming somebody literally, to turn that around and say, hey, wait a minute. I love that your doctor has no answers. That's honest. They don't have the answers. Okay, I find somebody else. Thank you for sharing your honest feeling. Don't give me a story that I would take or send me on the therapy that wouldn't work anyway because you want to make the money. That's the least honest. You tell me you have no clue. So new conversations. We take charge of our health. That requires education. I need to know how my immune system really works before I can evaluate the COVID vaccine, for example. I love the mRNA technology a lot. And then Jennifer Doudna was awarded the Nobel Prize in 2020, December 2020, for that. I read the book. This technology will help cure many, many diseases that are still incurable. I see the power of mRNA. And I used to study and teach biology and chemistry for 17 years. I love that stuff. mRNA speaks to me. I know what the molecule looks like. So I have not only a knowledge, but also have a feeling about that.
Yes. And to me, the vaccines against COVID-19 are one of the most impressive breakthroughs in modern medicine.
Yeah.
Very few medical advances have had this level of safety and effectiveness, and this startling difference in terms of outcomes between those who are vaccinated and those who are not. So it's an example of scientific progress, which I'm hoping more people will embrace, help us conquer this pandemic, help us overcome this challenging period in our history. I think our discussion today has spurred on a lot of enthusiasts among our chat participants. So Skip Siddiqui says, as a matter of fact, after this, I want to be a full-time transhumanist. And Daniel Twett says, this is actually an awesome time in history to become a full-time transhumanist. Good for you, Skip. And I will echo this. And Scott Schiff points out that future generations will read up about the early advocates, and hopefully they'll find our videos as well, our conversations, and watch them the way we might read the literature of prior time periods or watch the plays of prior eras, and they'll see into our minds, they'll see into our emotions, our motivations, and they will say, this is what drove these people to inaugurate this new era of longevity. And hopefully we'll be among that audience, and we'll look back and we will be impressed at what we aspire toward, but at the same time, we will also be amazed at how much we didn't know and how much we learned in the intervening years and decades and centuries.
If you just think about it, I love that a lot. If you think about the technology that brought the first man to the moon, if you look back, how primitive, all these computers to do what? So, but they did it anyway. They were unstoppable based on Kennedy's vision. Okay, so if looking back will be the same thing. I love your vision, Gennady, because it's going to happen. Just hang in for 50 years, you will see the big difference.
Yes, absolutely. And Scott Schiff reminded us in the chat about Ben Franklin talking about preserving flies in Madeira wine, and then he extrapolated that to say, well, wouldn't it be great to be preserved in a cask of Madeira wine along with a few friends, because what wonders humankind will achieve 1,000 years hence. And it's interesting because every one of his speculations, let's say, has come to pass in a lot less than 1,000 years, with one exception, which is overcoming this lifespan barrier that we have. And of course, we have a lot of time remaining on the time frame that he set forth, but that this is, I think, prophetic on his part. That he was talking about major increases in production and agriculture and flight, and he was also talking about longevity. So these visionaries, they have cropped up throughout history. Actually, in my book, Death is Wrong, I included the quotation from Benjamin Franklin, as well as other early visionaries, Francis Bacon, the Marquis de Condorcet. And I just wish in those earlier eras, there had existed more of a support infrastructure for people who thought that way. And I wonder, can we get enough of a support infrastructure right now for our era to make sure that these visionary thinkers, they can get to live to see their predictions come to pass? That's really important to me.
So, Gennady, I have to be honest with you. You're right on the same page with Benjamin Franklin. You're right in the same category. And you have something that he did not have, a communication tool online. Video can, in the blink of an eye, reach everybody around the world. 7,000 coalition members know you, okay? Beyond the Transhumanist Party. People and People Unlimited like you a lot, you know that. Which means there's an emotional holding of you, what you do as a visionary, that's absolutely crucial. That will be remembered. There's no doubt in my mind. I'm the same thing, I'm a visionary myself, as you know. I have a very clear vision. I want to humanize education. I want to humanize longevity, to take the sting out of this, to make us more human. We were born to be human, not survivors. And that is so true. You held this vision dear to your heart, and you have lots of supporters. I'm one of them.
Yes. Thank you so much, Otto. That means a tremendous amount to me. I'm heartened and I'm honored to hear those good words from you. And Daniel Twett points out this is visionaries supporting visionaries. Let's keep building this community together. And now I think we've come to the point in our conversation where I want to go around the panel one last time for any questions or comments from our officers. And then, as is our custom, we will let our guest have the final word. But let's start with Art Ramon.
Yeah, in your graphic, you showed wine. So what do you think is the appropriate amount of wine? I used to be quite the drinker myself, and it used to give me the euphoria. Now I drink alcohol and it makes me sleepy, so I've been drinking almost nothing now. So what do you think is the appropriate amount?
Well, to answer that question, we need to drink a bottle of wine with you. So, because I'm halfway joking, because the point is you have a lot of experience with drinking in the past. You drank for different reasons. You are an expert, okay? You know it, and now it makes you sleep because your body can't handle it anymore, obviously, or you need as a sleeping pill. I don't know, I just make that up as I go. The point being quality over quantity. That is very valid because deep down you have a sense for wine and you like it. So that's a deeper conversation, to peel the label of the symptom and look what's underneath. What feeling do you have now? How does it add quality to your life? Not the resveratrol, that's not the point. Okay, the anti-inflammatory, the radical scavenger, that's not the point. But for you, the pleasure of your life, how does it enhance you being a more joyful person? That would be the discussion I'd like to have with you.
Okay, thank you.
Make sense? Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, now let us go to Jason Geringer.
I was just thinking about what you said about the wine, and it can be, cathartic. You can, it does allow you to release some emotions that you might normally keep set down. But I appreciate you coming. Don't have a question right now, but this was awesome. It's cool to meet you, and keep doing what you're doing. It's awesome.
Thank you. Appreciate it very much.
All right, excellent. Thank you, Jason. And now let's go to Ben Ballweg.
Thanks for your time today, Otto, and for all you do. And I hope that we can all find what our role is to do in this field as well as you have. And I look forward to interacting with you much in the future and from here forward.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah. Visit our website, geniuscoaching.com. You get a lot of inspiration just reading through it and watching a few videos.
Will do. Thank you.
Love to stay in touch. Thank you.
Excellent. And now let us go to David Shoemaker.
Well, all the talk about wine has got me thirsty. That's a separate subject, I think.
Cheers.
I wanted to point out one thing. The Transhumanist Party's core values are significant life extension. That's the first of the core values. The second one has to do with incorporating reason in processes. And the third one has to do with the elimination or significantly reducing existential threat. Those things all work together for longevity. And I hope there's a genius factor in the middle of all that too. But the last thing I wanted to point out is of all the political parties that are out there, the Transhumanist Party is the only one that has the word human in the title.
Good point. Well taken. I love it, love it, love it.
Thanks for being here today, Otto.
My pleasure. Thanks to see your bright smile again. Appreciate it.
Yes, indeed. We are the party that looks out for the long-term future of humanity, and we are so beyond all of these short-term political battles that keep being fought. And it is in that spirit that we invited you, Otto, because I think your programs can help a lot of people in the long term to find their full potential and make sure that they are around to achieve longevity, to reach the arrival of longevity escape velocity. So with that being said, what are the thoughts with which you would like to conclude this conversation? Is there anything else you want to share with us, or perhaps sum up the discussion that we've had?
Yeah, mission impossible to sum it up because it is so rich. First of all, thank you again for inviting me. I enjoyed your comments a lot because I'm a very interactive person. So I like the stimulation through your comments and feedbacks and questions. And it is a pleasure to see people moving along longevity lines with determination and persistence and mean business with it. And it's much more than a discussion. And I got that touch today, that you mean more than just a conversation. And that really enriches me personally, because I know I'm not the only one. Sometimes we can feel like this when we are a longevity world. And it seems to be lonely, but it's not. It's not. We can connect easily and let's stay in touch easily and read each other's communication and build and build and build and build. And the outcome is just absolutely phenomenal. I'm very clear about that. I would not be clear if I wouldn't have my tribe. I'm very honest with you too. I need my tribe to support this emotional insecurities, because otherwise it would default to the back experiences in no time. And I just want to encourage all of you, hang in there, okay? Exciting things are coming. I'm very clear. Stay informed. I gave you a lot today, just also other resources. And if you want to have my weekly genius tip, then please take your phone and text 428, text genius to 42828. Then you get my weekly genius tip. That's the latest update from my world all the time. And I thank you for being here, interacting today, and just keep moving. It's exciting times ahead. The future is bright. Thank you.
Yes, indeed. Exciting times ahead. And we are so grateful to you for joining us for this virtual Enlightenment Salon. These are the kinds of wide-ranging, multifaceted, spirited conversations that we strive to have every single week, mostly at 1 p.m. Pacific time on Sundays. I want to inform our audience that we are initiating a collaboration with KGRA Radio starting the following week. So we will still be streaming to YouTube, but we will be streaming to the KGRA audience hereafter as well, and thereby expand our reach. So please keep tuning in. We have an exciting lineup of guests for November. And until then, live long and prosper.
Okay. Bye-bye.